Welcome to Pulp Mortem, the search for a lost science fiction classic.
Hey, I got a bone to pick with you.
Hi, honey. You shaved.
Oh, that's real funny. Listen, you left the toilet seat up again.
You keep leaving it down.
How hard is it to close it when you're done going pee-pee?
But I'm planning on using it again at some point today.
Idiot! You need to be sitting down when you go pee-pee anyways. That way your icky little pee-pee isn't splashing all over the bathroom like a fire hose.
Please stop saying pee-pee.
Pee-pee! Why don't you just sit down? That way you can read your stupid little books while you're in the bathroom. You know what? While we're at it, all you do is read those books. You know, the world would be a much better place if everybody would just sit down and stop reading your stupid...
What's the most you ever lost?
Thumbnail.
Sir? The most you ever lost.
Thumbnail. I had to throw those clothes away too. That paint doesn't come out of anything, including hair. Ugh. I almost considered not filming anything until I had a chance to let everything grow back again. Anyways, enjoy this brief reprieve from viewing my fat face while we talk about the author. Robert Sheckley was an American author born July 16, 1928, and he died in 2005 at the age of 77. Sheckley would travel his entire life, starting the year of graduation with a hitchhiking trip across the U.S. that led him to numerous odd jobs, including working in a tie factory and as a pretzel salesman.
Hi, please tell me you have a sweet pretzel left.
We do.
Thank God.
And we have 18 different toppings. We have sweet glaze, cinnamon sugar, chocolate, white chocolate, fudge, M&M's, caramel dip, mint chip, chocolate chip, marshmallows, nuts, toffee nuts, coconut, peanut butter drizzle.
After serving in the Army, he graduated with an arts degree in 1951 from New York University, and that same year he sold his first short story to Imagination. Final examination was met with instant acclaim. This Brooklyn boy was suddenly the talk of the town. His unique wit and often absurdist style quickly transcended the pulps, and he was one of the few SF writers to contribute to the slicks as well as the pulps simultaneously. Sheckley often used the pseudonyms Phillips Barbie, Ned Lang, and Finn O'Donovan, and many of his stories were adapted to radio and the screen. Winning a Jupiter Award and being nominated for a Hugo and Nebula multiple times, Sheckley left his mark on science fiction and was named Author Emeritus by the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America. All in, Sheckley wrote more than 400 short stories and over 15 novels, but he will always be remembered for his darkly comedic and unpredictable style. That and collecting ex-wives like their Pokemon cards. Which brings us to Dimension of Miracles, Earth Hunt. It had to be somewhere. Carmody knew that much. It was waiting for him just as he had left it. But where? He only knew that he was in the center of a galaxy in a universe of galaxies. Within them lay endless varieties of the planet Earth, and there was only one way to find his Earth again. He would have to visit each one, and he would have to hurry because his search for home had turned into a race with death. Dimension of Miracles is an original story first published by Dell in 1968 for 50 cents. I have the first edition with a cover by Paul Lair. The cover rocks. It is so weird and pulpy. The story is eggless, and this scene doesn't take place, but I think it does effectively capture the weirdness of this book. It's rad, and I'm digging it, baby. You shouldn't have any trouble finding any edition you want for $10 to $15. All right, let's talk about what I liked. The story is great. Tom Carmody is a nobody, working in a nameless office. His life is unremarkable and dull, and every single day starts and ends the same. Until one day a man suddenly appears in Carmody's apartment and lets him know that he has won a prize in the Intergalactic Sweepstakes. Now, Tom Carmody thinks maybe he's losing his mind and going crazy, but if that's the case, well, what harm is there in playing along? But if it's real, he couldn't afford to say no, so he accepts. So he travels with the messenger to the Galactic Center. He's about to receive his prize when suddenly another man walks in.
Stop, there's been some sort of mistake. I am Carmody.
It turns out a galactic error has been made because Carmody had never entered into the sweepstakes. In fact, everyone on Earth is ineligible to enter the sweepstakes. So Carmody does what many would do. He says, clearly, there's been some sort of mistake. But it's not my mistake. Prize, please. So he receives his prize, gives his thanks, and says, okay, I'm ready to go home now.
Oh, very funny. That isn't our job, sir. You take yourself home. Wait, you don't know your home coordinates? Why don't you just use your homing locator?
Wait, you left your planet without a homing locator? You know that there are infinite dimensions and that the universe is constantly moving, right?
So our hapless hero embarks on a wild and weird journey to find his way back home, all the while being pursued by a mysterious and monstrous force with one mission, one goal: to kill him.
Oh my God!
This story is a ton of fun, and I was fully locked in. The humor, smeared over dread, I thought was fantastic, and many believe this galaxy-hopping adventure to be the inspiration for Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Let's pause the review here for just a second. I would like inspiration maybe to be in quotes. There are some really big similarities. When author Neil Gaiman asked Douglas Adams about this in an interview, Adams claimed that he had never read anything by Sheckley before. Now, he did end up reading this and said that the parallels were eerie, but after all, a coincidence. Neil Gaiman. Is it Gaiman or Gaiman?
Gay?
I don't care. Had subsequently commented that the story resemblances between these two were, quote, disturbingly close. And as we know, Neil Gaiman is no stranger to being disturbingly close. Whoa! Was one of the most influential and popular science fiction stories of all time actually a hack that ripped off Dimension of Miracles? I don't know.
You don't know what you're talking about, do you? Sir? I said, you don't know what you're talking about.
In preparation for this review, I started rereading Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Now, I had started it years ago, and I watched the movie when it came out, but I didn't really remember much of it. And so I started rereading it, and I remembered instantly why I DNF'd it all those years ago. I don't like it. Now, I know I may get my science fiction reviewer card revoked here, but it's too silly. It's too silly for me. And I'm a silly goat. Ugh. I got to page 70 and I couldn't do it anymore. You can only stick a fish in your ear so many times. So as for myself, personally, I can't speak to the similarities between these two books. I'll leave that to you guys in the comments. Or we can leave it to Neil Gaiman. He seems to have some time on his hands as of late. Sheckley's writing, he's great. In the world of wacky science fiction, if Douglas Adams is Mickey Mouse, then Robert Sheckley is definitely Looney Tunes. Humorous, zany, but with some seriously dark undertones. The satire is obvious without being too on the nose. Space bulldozers. You're constantly on your toes, and Sheckley loves dropping the floor out from under you. Suddenly, you're in a truly, truly terrifying moment, and then stop, take a breath, and suddenly there's talking dinosaurs. The great John Clute had this to say about Robert Sheckley. Sheckley clearly found it worthwhile to express the corrosive pessimism of his wit within the storytelling conventions of SF, to dress his nihilism in sheep's clothing. Now, I agree with his observation, but not his response to Sheckley's style. This is dripping with nihilism and sarcasm, but it is so well crafted that you see the satire, you clearly see it, but it doesn't obscure the story. As a result, I love it. Clute may not love it, but I do. Space opera this is not, this is satire done right. I won't spoil the climax of this story, but I enjoyed it tremendously.
That's what she said.
The universal law of predation. Why is creation inconceivable without death? Don't ask stupid questions. Okay, it's good enough for me. Carmody's removal from Earth was a subversion in the universal law of predation. For instance, he can't catch a lethal disease from Earth. He can't be hit by a car. He can't fall off something and be killed by Earth's gravity, etc. To offset this anomaly, the universe created a specialized predator to kill Tom Carmody. And it could be anything or anyone. So in addition to traveling around the galaxy, traveling through different dimensions, trying to figure out where, when, and which Earth is, he is being pursued by the shape-shifting monster. This constant threat/ticking clock element was so much fun. You never knew what was real and what was a trap set by death. Now, some of the traps are obvious and hilarious, like an IRS agent that confronts Carmody while he's in the Cretaceous period, while others were clever and actually terrifying, like an entire subway system closing in around him like a Venus flytrap. This element of fear colored every silly and humorous moment. Always in the back of your mind was the fact that Carmody needed to hurry because death was restlessly pursuing him. Awesome. Carmody reacts, for the most part, like a real person. As this adventure moves along, he subsequently gets more grumpy, more short, and more irritable. It got to the point of him very nearly breaking the fourth wall. At one point, this alien named Seathrite is helping him jump dimensions and try to navigate these ones, and he loses it. He's at his wit's end, and he absolutely loses it. Cusses out Seathrite, and then he says, "How are there talking dinosaurs? There were talking dinosaurs. I'm being jerked around here. They were talking. These dinosaurs were talking in English."
Remember I told you that dinosaurs used to live in the forest a long time ago?
Me.
One of my favorite moments is when Carmody is transported to this sentient city. Now all the denizens have left, leaving the sentient city all alone. Now I won't spoil what happened during this section, but man, I was chuckling throughout. The dialogue was snappy and crisp, very enjoyable, but it sometimes suffered from... And now, the bad. Sometimes the dialogue in this can become exhausting. The arguments, debates, and lengthy monologues were, for the most part, fine, but there were some of them that kind of started to drag. And one in particular was a straight-up soul drain. This isn't a rule of mine, but typically I've found that I don't much enjoy reading satire. It's not that I dislike it, but in this particular entertainment medium, I think I'm finding that I would rather enjoy an earnest story. This is all just my personal preference, so your mileage on this may vary, but the issue I have is that this book has no indicators that it's satire. I mean, look at this. How was I to know that this book is straight up silly? Hitchhiker's Guide, yeah, obvious, right? This is obviously satire. The tone is loud and clear. And then we jump back over here to Death Stalked Him Through the Galaxies. Again, I don't mind this particular satire. I found it very enjoyable. However, I was whiplashed a bit in the beginning, at least until I realized what I was reading. Hey, sorry to break in, but before we continue on with the review, I'd like to remind you all that the elusive exclusive Book Society is back, and we'll be over on Secret Fire Books channel on November 12th at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. We're reading 9 Princes in Amber by Roger Zelazny. There's still a little bit of time left, so snag yourself a copy of this and join us in the discussion live. Seriously, set that time aside. The replay is always fun. It's a good time as well. But there is so much more happening in the moment that you don't see. But what with the live chat, interacting not just with us, but with your fellow readers as well. It's a massive book club, but it still feels like we're hanging out, chilling in somebody's living room. So again, the evening of November 12th, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us there. Even if you don't read the book, just come chill and hang out with us, okay? These Eebs live events are quickly becoming some of my favorite things here on YouTube. They are so much fun. Speaking of fun, Sheckley is genuinely funny. Here's an example. It was a rhetorical question, Carmody said. I am quite aware of that, but since I have my rhetorician's papers, I answered it. Not all these jokes are going to land, but I was pleasantly surprised at how many times I was either grinning or chuckling while reading this. The prize. We haven't talked about the prize yet. What is it? Oh, we don't know. It changes from scene to scene. Sometimes it's a bucket, a dwarf, a little snake, an umbrella. It talks, and it is even more sarcastic than Carmody, which is hilarious. But what is it for? What's it do? I have no idea. I have no clue, and that's great.
Don't think about it.
At one point, Carmody transports to another dimension, and his prize is gone. But then he jumps to another, and it's back. Where have you been? What? Can a prize take a day off? The Predator, while scary, had some humorous moments as well. It didn't always have time to set up elaborate traps, so some of them were kind of hurriedly or haphazardly thrown together. As a result, sometimes small details were a little off. A group of humans arrives and pretends to be rescuing Carmody, but one of them has an ear that's upside down and kind of in the wrong place, or had a hand that was connected to the tool he was holding, or things like that. The features are crooked or a little askew. It's very Picasso-esque, and essentially Carmody is being pursued by AI art. So what's the verdict? Personal collection, but just like last week, it's close to museum rank. I'm probably too critical and too stingy with that coveted top rank, but I'd give this a 4 out of 5. It does drag in certain sections, and not all the jokes land. I'm looking at you, dinosaurs. But I can wholeheartedly recommend this, especially if you enjoy a heaping spoonful of humor in your science fiction. This is absurd, but if I just went off of the amount of fun I had when reading this, top ranks. And honestly, if we aren't in this for fun, then what are we doing here, kids? And that is my review of Dimension of Miracles. Let us know in the comments. Have you read this? Let us know if you've read this and if you've read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That way you can let us know if this is, mild inspiration, or have we uncovered another scandal. Also, while you're commenting down there, let us know if you sit for PP or if you stand like a real man.
Oh my God!
As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time, hopefully with more of a beard and with Genesis 5.